In the meantime, yeah, Switch is fast sometimes. It already specified the type and output location. And as you can see, my output was empty before, but now it shows me there is one portrait A4. So it renamed and added the portrait name to the file name. And we have two A5s, apparently both portrait available. So there are no other trim sizes. Everything is set up correctly and done in a very easy way. So that is one flow to really illustrate how we can dispatch files, how can we find out what the file is, and how do we have to continue the flow. The second one is again, of course, looking at similar items, but what the basic purpose is is that you, for instance, have a native design, an InDesign file, or a Quark Express folder, and I would like to find the links which are part of that folder. So we want to find the images which we will optimize using a third-party application, Claro, and then we have other files which are going to an assemble step. They are back assembled, compressed, renamed, and we have an output. Now, how do we define this? And for the purpose of this file is I will actually hold the connection. That is one of the ways that you can test your flows very quickly, even if you've activated the flow as it is right now, is we can find out exactly what happens to the file at certain points and just hold it. So that's what I'll do right now, and I'll hold it here as well, and I will drop a file in my input folder again. So I have a zipped file here. That is the one that I will put in my input folder, which will be uncompressed first. So Switch can uncompress a file. It can be either a zip, a tar, or a RAR file. If you would like to introduce or use SID files, stuffit files, there is a way in order to unstuff the files with the Expander Deluxe option, the Stuffit Deluxe option. So what we have now is I've Switch just uncompressed the files, and we have a job folder. That's what we call a Switch. Switch can either take in a single file, image, PDF, or a Switch or a job folder. And then we can see here that this is my native folder package, that's how they call it, with fonts and links available. So what we now try to do is we try to find the links, take these, I don't know how many there are in there, just to take these two TIFF files, optimize them separately, and then bring them back in order to reassemble the folder just the way that you wanted it to. So I will release this connection, and right now I see that Switch separated the files. I have 4 files waiting to be assembled already, which is of course all the stuff that I don't need, and I have my images defined here. Now, how did I define my images? I'm looking at different file types. So now I'm looking at files that which are a TIFF, JPEG, Adobe Photoshop file, RAW, or digital negative file. In the meantime, the files have been optimized, and we see that we now again have 6 files ready to be assembled. Now, the interesting part of Switch is that if you have a folder that you ungroup, meaning that you want to separate all the files, is that you can reassemble them very easily by using automatic settings in order to find my folder again. So I will leave this, and it will show me that it just found some files, which is actually based to the same original folder. It has just compressed the file into a zip, and I also wanted a basic rename option, and as you can see, it added the name optimized or the suffix optimized to my file, and this is ready to be uploaded. How do we do that? By using the rename job here, that will just add a suffix called _optimized, and we want to do that on the name without taking the extension into account. So as you can see, secondly, a nice example of how Switch can take in files, uncompress them, route them separately, reassemble them to get a nice result. A third option that or third flow that I would like to show you also might be interesting to show you that normally when you're designing the flow, just the way that I did this first one, is that the flow is always deactive. So normally you will see a white background and you can activate the flow. And while it's activating the flow, it will validate all the different elements within your flow. So you cannot activate a flow which is incorrectly configured, which is always a good thing to know that the configuration is correct before you start automating your processes. Now, instead of using a hot folder for this purpose or flow, I would like to use what we call a submit point, which is a direct link to my Switch client application. Remember in the slide of Angelo, the Switch client was one of the options that could push files from a separate system into my Switch service, my Switch production area. What we can do is we can submit a file here. I will find the files that I would like to use. Here we go. These two. I will open the files, and then I would need to find the flows or the access points that I would like to use. Now in this case, I need to change the access of the user. So what I'll do is I'll connect with a user that I know for sure will have access to this submit point. There we go, administrator. So it finds that it's connected securely. So we'll refresh our Switch client in order to find all the settings, and we'll try again. 2 files here. Works. Okay, didn't work at all. Here. Again. See, okay. It's fine. Let's try it one more time to see if that works, and otherwise I'll continue to the next flow. There we go. So now I find all the flows that are available, and I'm currently looking for, actually I can find the name, which is 03, and then I can search for a flow called 03, which I find the submit point for, and then I can see that currently this flow will prepare for online FTP upload. And I can provide which FTP directory I would like to send to, corporate, partners, or private. In this case, I will take corporate, and I will submit the 2 images as separate jobs. So these files are taken in. And in the meantime, Photoshop is already making a low-res version and outputting the files. Now in my output location, I want Switch to define the upload location, which I've just set up in my Switch client. So as we can see is in our upload archive, we have a corporate, and then we have the information in here. And to be sure that you understand it completely and do not think that I'm trying to fool you here with a predefined demo, I will try and do that again. I've just deleted all the information from the upload archive. I will send them through, and you can see that that structure is actually created on that location. Corporate, and then within that same folder, my second JPEG is coming in. At the same time, I also wanted an archive from the original high-res files, which I sent through. I wanted to add a folder structure based on the name of the file. That's what I've done here. So I have a Photoshop file and I had my TIFF file. So I found out, Switch can find out exactly what the format is of the file. And what I also done is I wanted today's date to be added to there, or at least the date of when the file was processed. So as you can see, Switch is able, it's a very, I always call it a Switch army knife. It can take in files, it can identify the files, it can use third-party applications, it can copy files to different locations, making a high-res and low-res at the same time. And in that idea, exactly fine-tuning those little areas that still might need some automation within your own production.